Just saying. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you all out to a musical extravaganza called the Night and Day Project. Please save your applause.
Do it because I love living. You don't hear me though.
Another thing that we haven't been able to address before on Black Love is in-laws. And specifically, listen, you're not helping. You're not helping. But we talked to Ryan and Sterling.
So my mother and my grandmother
God rest us.
got together, and I don't know all the ins and outs, but basically they called me, or I must have told my mother about, I cannot remember how it happened. Basically, the upshot was, so in my family, people feel like they have psychic, the sight.
Vision.
And so the vision was, he is this horrible person. You need to be deathly afraid of him. He's evil. Like they basically gave me the full court press. And this was obviously, but you know, you're young and you're like, oh, they had a vision. They got the sight. Like, really? Like, and so it was terrifying because it was not, it came out of,
her.
it came, no, but you understand when you're young, your parents, your grandparents, your aunties, these are people that you trust.
You know, your mom's influence, your grandma, these are the two most important women in her life. She will tell you, if her grandmother passed away before we got married, if her grandmother was still alive, she probably would not have happened.
So I went to a lot of therapy, and you know, therapists were like, so, do you believe in visions? And when somebody repeats it back to you, you're like, actually, no. You know, I mean, but it takes, because you don't have those, your mirror is these women and the women in your family, and you have to honor that. And, you know, you don't get to a place like Stanford University being a rebel. Do you know what I mean? You get there by following the rules, and this is what they say. And I had to learn that it was okay to let things go, and I wasn't letting people go. I wasn't letting my grandmother go. I wasn't letting them go. I was just letting outmoded ideas go, you know, so that I could embrace different things and more things. And yeah,
Well, things that were outmoded for us
as a couple. Yeah.
I knew that my family had been a factor in why we had broken up in the past, right? My inability to trust myself and to trust that this was something real, like, you know. And it's funny, we were just talking about this in the car, and I was like, the first, I would say probably 18 months of our marriage, everything that happened, I had to really work because my initial gut reaction, if anything negative happened, it was seen through the prism of my mother was right. You know, I never forget, he broke a wine glass or a champagne glass or something. And I was like, well, that's it. We will never have nice things. I will never be able to drink champagne. Because I chose this, and my mother told me not to choose. You know, my grandmother and my mother would always say, your obedience is your safety. What did we tell you? Your obedience is your safety. And I was like, well, yes, it is, because, you know, I kept my legs closed, I kept my mouth, you know, I was that person. And then again, I had to really ask myself some very profound questions about the choices that they've made, the things that they necessarily did not tell me that, you know, they told me a lot of things and they kept some things behind, you know, I was like, so, I'm sorry, who's my daddy? I'm just, can we, I mean, I know my obedience is my safety, but my parentage, can we get to that? No, that's not important, it's okay.
That's a big, you opened up a big can of worms, you can't spring that on people like that.
No, and they would make these platitudes about people. And in my family, if you wash your dish towels with anything other than dish towels, not only is it wrong, but it is just like, them nasty people. Wait, Ryan. Nasty.
nasty.
The hairbrush.
That's just and if you see somebody, don't eat at their house, don't eat their food, because they nasty, you know? And y'all, everybody in this room knows what I'm talking about. Right? Everybody.
That's my name.
You put a hairbrush on a table or where somebody has to eat. Who does that? I just don't understand why people aren't raised. You're like, okay, now let's calm down. Like, we really can. Yes, maybe hairbrushes shouldn't belong. Yes, but really, are they just? Is it really? You're just the foulest, most trifling. Like, there's no. And once you have these conversations with yourself, you realize like my family didn't have a lot of mediation in terms of like. I was like, yes, maybe it's not the best thing to do, but really the most foul, the most nasty. We can't think of anything else that's nastier than And so I had to. That was for us to move forward. I had to just start asking myself some really important questions about how I wanted, if I wanted to live in that kind of, I don't want to say closed-mindedness, but that kind of, it felt like being in an enclosure, and I wanted to break out of it.
So, for me, I'd imagine that would be very, very difficult if I were in Sterling's shoes. And so, how did for those first 18 months where she was still tethered to her family's dogma?
Right.
What were you doing at that time? How were you dealing with that or processing it?
Man, it was tough in that anytime you tried to introduce like not a sort of right or wrong methodology to things, but just something different, right? Like, speaking of like the dish towels, I was like, look, it costs money to run the washing machine. I'm trying to wash as much stuff as I possibly can so I can get everything clean.
That's what I'm talking about, bro.
A little frugality up in this piece, right? And she goes and looks in the dryer and she's like, I'm sorry, did you wash the dish towel with the other? I was like, yeah, everything is clean though, right? And she's like, would you? Like, it became like this thing, like, in the future, if you would not do that, I would appreciate it. I was like, well, you don't want me to wash the clothes? She's like, I don't want you to wash them. She'll wash like 7 towels. And to see 7 towels in a machine by themselves, my mom is just going like, what? You gonna wash 7 towels by themselves? So it was a situation, look, this is what it is. Everybody comes to marriage with their ideas or their preconceived notions of what marriage is supposed to be. Sometimes they're conscious, sometimes they're unconscious. Mm-hmm. And you together over time sort of figure out what this marriage is for us.
Yes.
Right? And that can, this is year 12.
Yes.
It's still happening.
Yes.
And there's a quote, my favorite quote, it's from Rumi, and it says, out beyond our ideas of right and wrong, there is a field, and I will meet you there. And I had to really take that to heart. And I was like, wow, everything is right and wrong and right and wrong and right and wrong. And it's not getting me anywhere but right and wrong and right and wrong and right and wrong. And I want to go to that field. I want to explore. And that's not to say that you're letting people go or even letting things go, because I still don't put a hairbrush on a table. But what I don't do is write that person off who does that and go, I may bring a snack with me if I go to their house. I'm still Ryan, let's be clear. There you go. But again, it's like you have, and at the end of the day, I think that's like one of the beautiful things about marriage, because you don't want to marry yourself.
No.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like, and to that point, there are ways in which my wife has helped me to evolve. Like, there's a certain sort of, I was doing this TV show, Army Wives in Charleston, and I remember, like, every time I found a new place to live, in some kind of way, I would pick the cheapest place I could find, okay? Because as an actor, similar to being an athlete, you don't know how long it's gonna last. Mm-hmm. You have moments that are prosperous, and then you have moments that are lean. So you're just trying to be as responsible a human being as you can. And it took my wife sort of saying, like, you know what, Brown? I understand you want to save money, but you don't have to live like this. Like, you got a little bit of, you can fight the case. Like, you don't have to live like this. So, and I'm thankful because I would probably have like 4 white walls and a big screen TV and a couch. And I'd just be like stacking chips, but like my life would be so empty. You know what I'm saying? Like, every once in a while you need somebody to say, look, here's something, look, that's pretty. Wouldn't you like something pretty in your house? No. Yeah, that is pretty.
There's so much truth.
No problem. So it goes both ways. It goes both ways.
There's so much truth in that. What he just said, that was my rookie year. 4 walls, and I got an 18-inch tube TV.
Right?
It was the tube TV with the VCR attached to it. And she was like, you still gonna use VHS?
I'm sorry, what year was this?
At the edge of the bed, you can see the TV. She was like, DeVal, stop. Just like Ryan.
Same.
She was like, bro, you can. So I was like, all right, you're right.
Yeah.